came to do.
Hey,
You know what we came to do? Look, I'm in a league of my own. Y'all need to leave it alone. I'ma just eat everything. I'ma just leave you the bones. Call it an even exchange. There ain't no need to explain. Yeah, it should be overstood. Like when I hop on a plane and I fly over your hood. Y'all should be knocking on wood. Don't make me go against the grain. I ate my Wheaties, I'm good.
what is the deal? It's your boy Kelly Flicks, and we are back with another episode of HBCU Flicks. As y'all can see, I'm with my partner, my boy Malk. What's the deal?
Going on, man? It's time to hurt some feelings in here, bro.
Hey, the news finna get a little sticky. You know what I mean? And it's plenty of news is finna be sticky this year. Well, not this year. Today, we got the HBCU Legacy Bowl going on. First, the Combine is today, and I think at the end of the week or next week, we'll see the HBCU actual All-Star game. But, hey, news is coming in. Cats is running 4.7s and 4.8s. That's not good. That is not good, big fella.
Not cutting the line.
Hey, you want to play on the next level? Got to perform like the rest of the athletes. We also have the big combine going down to Indianapolis this week. Big Aneem Dankwall will be there. The young 6'8", 350 pounds offensive tackle is going to be there. We'll see if he can get a spot in this year's draft, right? The combine only has about 150 athletes. Aneem Dankwall is also amongst those names. Hopefully his name gets called on draft day. But we got plenty of stuff to talk about today, including spring scrimmages, right? Division II football has now allowed spring scrimmages, so we get to see some more head-to-head contact when it comes to different rivals, teams that are in the same region, anything of that sort. And then also we got top five. Getting to my top five when it comes to the HBCU Combine, which players to look out for. We're also going to speak about the Tuskegee schedule. The Red Tails Classic is going to look much different than it has in the past 3 years. It won't be Tuskegee and Fort Valley. It will actually be Tuskegee and Johnson C. Smith. I know.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. C. Smith is a solid program, bro.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good one
Net,
on
you not
paper.
feeling it?
It's a good one on paper, but it's not a good one when it comes to possible matchups. You know what I mean? Like that's not bad on paper. It's a good defense versus a good offense. It might be okay, but when it comes to like looking at the SIAC, it's like wow, missed opportunities. And you can only think how much money they're actually gonna make on it. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
We'll kick it off right now with spring scrimmages. All right, so Division II football has now allowed for spring scrimmages, which means that your favorite Division II football team can actually play any NCAA sanctioned team in the country, any team they can find, any team they can fly out, any team they can fly to, any team they can bus to. So with that being said, I think that we're going to see some pretty intriguing Division II matchups in the years to come. All right, this year in particular, we may not see as many as we want to see, just based on the fact that it's going to be a logistics thing with Division II. Division II, a lot of the reason why these athletic programs are Division II is because they don't have the money of a Division I program. They don't have the endowment. They don't have the athletic department money, the budgets that sometimes aren't as big. And because they aren't as big, you're going to end up playing more regional matchups. So I have a couple matchups I'd like to offer into the ether. Number one matchup I like to see is actually between an NAIA HBCU program, right? And NAIA, I just kind of assume they have no rules, so I'm going to go ahead and act like they can scrimmage also. So Florida Memorial, I think that they should go ahead and schedule West Florida Division II program, pretty much a powerhouse. They've been a program for 6 years. They've been to the national championship like twice, so they're them. But I think that would be a good matchup for Florida Memorial. Going through to the SIAC, Central State. This is a very intriguing matchup to me. I think that Central State should stay regional and play a team in Ohio. Now, in playing teams in Ohio, you'll figure out very fast most of the colleges in Ohio are Division III. And there's a couple powerhouses in Ohio. One goes by the name of Mount Union. I think
Yes,
that
sir.
Central State should play Mount Union this spring and judge where they are as a football program. This Mount Union team is Division III by choice. They can be a Division I program, but they rather win championships. I don't blame them. But I do think that Central State should step up to the plate and as Division II school, offer their hand out to play Mount Union. I think if you want to win recruiting battles within Ohio, you have to prove that you're one of the best programs in Ohio. A lot of kids in Ohio coming out of high school can look at Mount Union as a way better program than Central State based on what Mount Union has done, their athletic facilities, and what they look like on that field. So if Central State can go out and put some hands on Mount Union, it might make a lot of recruits look at Central State differently. So I think Central State, Mount Union, definitely one you got to put on there. Of the other matchups, we have this is a D2 versus D1 matchup right here. Might not be the best matchup, but regionally I like it. Virginia State versus North Carolina Central. Right, we're talking about a CIAA Division II team, Central State, versus a MEAC Division I squad, North Carolina Central. Now, why do I think that this is such a good match? Well, Virginia State and what Coach Frazier has done is simply acquire a bunch of upperclassmen. Right, Virginia State last year had 28 graduate players. 28. So 28 guys at least 21 years old or older. Right. So in understanding that, this team that beat Delaware State. They beat Delaware State last year. They beat one of the D1 schools. They beat Norfolk State. This team can go toe-to-toe with Division I schools from time to time, just given the fact that they have a lot of older players with much more experience. So, yeah, absolutely. Virginia State would match up well with North Carolina Central because North Carolina Central also, this year in particular, are losing a lot of players. They're losing one of the best quarterbacks in Division I HBCU football, losing the top running back, Mookie Collier. You're losing your top receiver, Devin Smith, went to the portal. You're losing Khalil Baker, who was an Aeneas Williams Award winner 2 years ago, which means you're the best defensive back HBCU football. Lost him. Lost another offensive lineman, Torricelli Pimpkins. So this team is actually rebuilding. And when you're rebuilding, you want to try to build some morale. Maybe beating up on a Virginia State in the spring might help that. So I think that's a great matchup we can see. We got two more matchups on deck. Miles College in Alabama. I got them going up against Delta State, Mississippi. Not Mississippi Valley.
Yeah, but Delta State.
Much
Yeah.
better team. Delta State beat Mississippi Valley last year by 23
That's what I
points.
thought.
They put hands on them. But it's also a very good program because Delta State is usually in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs last year. Miles College could have made the playoffs last year. So this is be a Mississippi versus Alabama matchup. But it's also a matchup that I think will help Miles. When you look at Delta State as an actual school and institution is failing. Keep it P. It's failing. The school is, they say that what I've heard is on the brinks of closing. Enrollment's down. They're having some financial issues, whatever. Despite these facts, players and recruits are still choosing Delta State. Why is that? Maybe it's because they haven't seen the SIAC school go up there and beat up on Delta State. They've seen Delta State beat up on Mississippi Valley for like the past 5 years. They've seen D1
Which is crazy.
beat up on the D1 FCS school. Just beat up on them. They haven't seen a good HBCU program roll up in there in quite some time. Maybe Miles can do that, and in doing that, maybe Miles gains more confidence going into the season knowing they beat a playoff team.
Yeah.
Lastly, I got West Virginia State versus Benedict. All right, so this one is very unusual, and it's kind of a trend going on with these different spring scrimmage matchups where you go, a lot of these guys are in different conferences, right? So West Virginia State, as everybody knows, they're not an HBCU conference. I think they're in the MAAC. I like for them to play against Benedict because last year, West Virginia State had a couple of really good players, man, like Joel Felder back there running back, Donovan Riddick at quarterback, and they had a pretty good team. They actually went up there and almost beat a Division I school. They almost upset them. They lost by 2 points in the final seconds. So I think West Virginia State is very formidable. And you look at Benedict squad that won 22 games in the last 2 years. These kids come from winning.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They're used to winning. They lost their coach, but they're still used to winning. Those winning ways don't just leave that fast. I think that it'll be a good matchup against West Virginia State because both programs are very strong and trending in the right direction. And I'm all for good football. As a football purist, I just want to see some good games. I want to see some good matchups, and I think that's what we'll get. So that's what I got for the scrimmages. Malk, man, I know you probably into it too. Any scrimmages you want?
I think you gave some good points though, especially when you're talking about Mount Union versus Central State. With the inclination of the spring scrimmage games, I think also is a big recruiting push because a lot of these spring scrimmage games you see D1, you have a lot of unofficial visits. You get a lot of kids on campus to watch these games.
Right.
So when you're talking about Central State versus Mount Union, Mount Union is D3, but they excel in basketball. You accept that by choice. They excel in basketball. They excel in football. So for them to play a team like Central State, you can get kids for both programs there. Mount Union can flood that out with their facilities with unofficials, and so can Central State bring kids up there or vice versa. So for you to have that that game, and it's a big recruiting push for both programs. And they mentioned in Delta State versus Mississippi Valley. I think that game against Moss College would be good for them too. In because I'll say this, like you're saying, Mississippi Valley is a program where they get Delta State went up there and beat up on them, and you mentioned that Delta State still Delta State still has found a way to get recruits in the same state as Mississippi Valley, and kids are choosing Delta State over. I'm looking at this as a recruitment role. You can boost Delta State recruitment for football. Football is good. That brings in enrollment and it brings in money for the school. So I think that with the inclination of this upcoming spring with spring football games, it's just a big recruiting tool. I think that a lot of these HBCU programs can use.
Facts, facts. So that's all I got for scrimmages, man. Malk with the news. What's the deal?
Man, we finally have our MEAC roundup. We talked about the MEAC earlier. We got a little bit of our SWAC roundup, but I want to first start off with Fisk University's Maya Buchanan dropped 60 points against Southern University New Orleans.
Hey yo,
She
60.
dropped 60 points, 60 of them.
Wow. Salute.
And then salute. Shout out Darvin Ham, bro. But before we got on stream, I just popped up on my Twitter. Shout out HBCU Premier Sports. Just popped up out of nowhere, so I had to mention that. Shout out Maya. Didn't look at much to the game, but 60 points versus in a college game is very hard to do.
Well, hey, look, we'll
So
react to this on Wednesday. We're gonna find the film. This ain't gonna be
oh
like,
yeah.
look, we're gonna find the film and we're gonna react on Wednesday. Don't worry about nothing.
So I want to jump into our MEAC update. We left off the MEAC last week, and what it looked like, not last week, but our last show, the MEAC standings was Norfolk at the top at 5-1, North Carolina Central 5-1, Delaware State, Howard, Morgan, and South Carolina State all locked in together at 3-3. Maryland Eastern Shore at 1-5, and Coppin State 1-5. It's been 2 weeks since, and now our MEAC standings are looking at Norfolk 6-2. The previous four and win one and lost one. Jamari Thomas is probably their best player from what I've seen. Averaging 17 points a game. They only have one person on Norfolk's team that's averaging like that. He's a very explosive guard. Get to it, get down here a little bit. And he's averaging 3.7 assists per game.
He's
He
moving
has
around.
multiple games with 4 steals. So he has a very nice game. Central, they dropped two, lost the last two. But what's interesting about Central, they scored the most points in the conference, 76 points per game. Second in 3-point makes per game at 7 points, and they've scored 105 times this year. So you can see there's a high octane offense,
Huh.
and the numbers back it up. They have three players who are averaging 15 points. You got Fred Cleveland Jr. averaging 15, Darius Harris, and probably one of the craziest names I've seen in a minute, Po Boy King.
Shout out to
That's his
Pope.
name. The kid's name is Po Boy. P.O. Shout out to Po Boy, man. But Fred Cleveland got a great story about him, man. He has averaging 4.8 assists as the MEAC assist leader. But what's crazy though? He's a Chicago native, but he came out of Chicago, went to North Carolina A&T to start off.
Wow.
So
Well, he went to
after
the Lions, huh?
yeah, after not getting a lot of time, he went JUCO and then bounced back and went to now he's at North Carolina Central, bro. In the game they played against A&T this past year, he had 10 assists against A&T. So Fred Cleveland, I think, is the one we should look out for. I don't have an MVP watch list yet. Next show, I'm gonna look into it a little more, but Fred Cleveland is definitely a name that you should look into.
I like that. Central recently has been kind of going back and forth with Howard when it comes to MEAC talk. Who do you think will end up putting out the W in the MEAC? Who will win the conference?
Ah man, now I'm gonna leave that to Factor Cap. That I got my pick there. I'm gonna leave
Okay.
that to Factor Cap. So we got Howard coming in, 2 game winning streak, 5-3. Got 6-year senior Seth Towns coming from. I think he went to Columbia or Harvard the year before, and then Duke before that. So he
OG,
got
triple OG.
yeah he got some experience on him. But Seth Towns is averaging 15 points per game and 6.5 rebounds, along with Bryce Harris, who's averaging 16 points per game and shooting on 57 field goal percentage.
I like
And
that.
the biggest thing Howard did the other day, they knocked off NC Central, which put them back to 5-3. Now they're both tied. And NC Central game, Marcus Dockery, I didn't mention him beforehand, but he scored 26 points. I think he got over 5 rebounds in that game also after knocking off Central. So you got good look at Howard. I think Howard is a pretty solid team stacked up with kids like Shy Oldham, Seth Townsend, and Bryce Harris. And hopefully Marcus Dockery keep putting in shifts like that. Morgan State, who was at 3-3 last show, they kind of surprised me. Won 2 in a row, taking care of business, led by Winston Tabbs, averaging 16.4 points a game, shooting 86% from the free throw line. I think he was 50 for 57 on the year from free throw line from the stripe. And then the biggest thing he did this year, 38 points against UNBC. So
That's not bad.
not bad at all, man. And South Carolina State, I think, is the last team we'll talk about in the MEAC. I think it's very, very odd, sitting at 4-4, 1-1, lost one. But like I said before, off stream flicks, they have no 10 points per game scores. Everybody's averaging under 9 points per game.
That's a
I don't
red
know what
flag,
people
homie. That's a red flag.
red wave it,
That's
wave it,
definitely a red
homie.
flag. I don't know what's going on, but I don't trust it. They're 4-4 though, despite that. So it must be a defensive team.
Yeah, they must be grinding out these wins, man. But averaging not 3 people averaging 9 points a game, under 9 points a game is like you niggas scared to shoot the ball. What's going on, man?
It makes me want to check their game highs now. Can anybody
Yeah,
score, or is this by choice? Like, is the coach's philosophy pass the rock, let's
yeah.
get around, or can nobody score at a high clip?
And my thing is, even if coach says let's share the rock, let's move it around. We got Central who got 3 players averaging 15 points per game. So maybe South Carolina State can't score. But that's going to take some more research to look into. And then our last two teams got finishing out is Maryland Eastern Shore at 2-6 and Coppin State at 1-7. Nothing much to really talk about with both teams. I didn't see anything really. I think Maryland Eastern Shore had a kid who was scoring over 13 points per game, but I didn't really look into it because of the records. And our MEAC roundup is looking like that. And personally, Norfolk State's in the driver's seat per usual. I think they always represent the MEAC.
Yeah.
That's what they do, man. So, but they're sitting at 6-2, Central 5-3, Howard 5-3, Morgan State 5-3, and Delaware State and South Carolina State are both 4-4. So the
Delaware State
MEAC,
kind
the
of let me
MEAC,
down. Not gonna lie, I thought Delaware State was making a push, and now it seems like they slowed down altogether.
yeah, the bright spot with them, Jevin Munoz is averaging 15 and a half points per contest, and like I said, he dropped 31 on Morgan State in the win. So we're gonna see how they round out the season if they can compete and stay within that hunt. But right now it's looking like they're right out the pack. They're down there between with South Carolina State, Maryland, Eastern Shore, and Coppin State. They're not in the top three of what the MEAC's looking like.
That's tough. That's tough. But hey, I mean, somebody has to be a loser in all this. You got a couple
Yeah,
top teams. Somebody's got to be at the bottom, man. It's tough to see it, but
can't
UMass
everybody
kind of have a
win?
fall from grace. Last year, they won around 15, 18 games. They fallen from grace. Coppin State, ever since their allegations and scandals, it's not they only won like 2 games since then. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it is what it is. South Carolina State probably should be worse than a Delaware State or a UMass, honestly. So, I mean, I understand it with the MEAC. Very top heavy, but you got to understand that they are legit top heavy. The Central and the Norfolk States and the Howards, they are really good teams.
yeah. And even flashing back to that Coppin State team, when the allegations happened, I want to say that they beat Duke at Coppin State. So Coppin State, there are talented teams in the MEAC, but like you said, the top heavy teams are really good. Top three really are usually gonna kind of run the MEAC, and then the bottom three, it's not gonna be a lot of competition within the pack. But that's why I like talking about swag basketball right there, Flicks. Because we have a lot of talent, and at times it can be top heavy, but that middle of the pack, man, is all. It looks very, very, very exciting. So going into our SWAC update, we have Southern University picking up wins over Alabama A&M, ASU, and Prairie View since our last show. They're sitting at the top at 10-2. Grambling sitting at 9-3, wins versus Al. I messed up Alcorn's.
Yeah,
What's it
Alcorn,
called?
buddy.
Alcorn. Thank you
Get it right
guys.
on me.
Yeah, nah, bro was in the
He's in the chat
bro
flaming.
was in the comments like it's all corn. I felt bad, but once it gets all corn,
Tighten up, buddy.
Grambling and TS in Texas State, but they had a home loss to Alabama
Oh,
A&M. So
Texas Southern.
Gramblin's sitting at 9-3. He
Gotcha.
said, "Go Texas Southern." It's JSU over here, homie. Speaking of my Tigers, bro, JSU after falling to 4-5 versus Southern after they lost against Southern. This is after I want to say they lost to Grambling too out in New Jersey at the Prudential Center. Jackson fought back to win 3 in a row versus Mississippi Valley, UAPB, and FAMU. And in the FAMU win, we've talked about the name plenty of times off camera and on screen. Jordan O'Neal,
Yeah.
man. Shout out my boy Romel, but that second team SWAC watch list he was on. Jordan O'Neal got that spot for sure. Maybe even my test for first team, bro. 22-13 versus FAMU. He's been a very reliable backup and reliable, not even backup. He has been stepping in since Romel has hurt his not ACL, was Achilles. But Jordan O'Neal's played amazing. Like I said, 22-13 was FAMU. Seen him in person. I've seen him on TV too. He does pretty well with rebounding and knocking down shots. JSU is looking to keep capitalizing after being 7-5. But the biggest thing about the SWAC right now, man, this middle of the pack is very jumbly, man. We got Bethune Cookman, also 7-5. 2 wins, 2 losses since our last show. Lost to Alabama A&M by 4, but then they beat TSU at Prairie View by very comfortable means. 10-point, 15-point games, and then they went on the road and lost to Alcorn by 15. So Texas Southern and Alcorn doing the same thing, both sitting at 7-5. UAPB is at 6-6, and our last two teams, FAMU, not taking care of business at 2-10, and Valley. What do you expect Valley to be, Flicks?
Maybe 7 wins.
0-12, homie. So the Delta Devils not taking care of business, man.
V
But our
State.
SWAC roundup looks good though, bro. How you feeling on update? What you thinking? Or who do you think has the best chance to win a SWAC?
One thing I will say about Jackson State, man, every step they take back, they take like two forward. Somehow they have become an extremely deep team to where there's like a new guy every week that pops up for Jackson State, talking leading scorer or the guy that actually helps them win. So I'm really intrigued by this Jackson State team. I feel like they kind of have it kind of feels like an NBA squad where if one guy goes down, you just throw another guy in there, and he's pretty solid. So this O'Neal kid, I'm watching him. You still got I think Chase Adams right at point guard.
Yep.
Still watching him. You still got Ken Evans. It's like every week we kind of talk about a different one of these players. So we'll see going into SWAC tournament time what type of seed they are. But I am thinking maybe stock up on Jackson State. After last week, you said Jackson State it was over for them. I feel like they're coming back.
Yeah. It changed drastically, man. Just like the side of a coin, man, flip it real quick for Jackson. Like you said, they taking 2 steps back and take 3 forward. So I think once Jackson State can figure out that consistency of finding how to win night in and night out, and they boost this record to compete with a Grambling or be close to a Southern, because it looks like Southern's not slowing down. Grambling dropped their last one to Alabama A&M, but it looks like that Southern's not slowing down. So for Jackson State to catch Southern, they have to go into these games against. They played FAMU and Valley, so they took care of business against the lower seeds. They got to go into these games against these mid-conference teams like Texas Southern, Alcorn, and Bethune Cookman and win, and not win by 4 or by 5. We got to win outright to let them know that hey, we are Jackson State. We are supposed to be here. We might have fumbled on the way, but we're supposed to be here. So that's the SWAC roundup right now. My pick to win right now. I'm a cop out and just go Southern. I think Terrion Joseph is not slowing down at all. Southern keep finding ways to win, and sitting at 10-2, the best record in the SWAC right now. So I'm a cop out. Just go ahead and pick Southern for my champions right now to win at least the conference. Tournament's a different problem, different situation, but I think the conference right now is going to go to Southern.
Nice. All right. Well, that's the news with Mount. Let's get back into these scrimmages, man. All right. So I did speak about some scrimmages, and give you go ahead take a load off, Malk. With these scrimmages, it's gonna be there's a part of the scrimmages where we go spring football scrimmages where you go, okay, let's get the best game, or let's get the most feasible game. All right. So when I talk about feasible, I'm talking about Morehouse and Clark. All right. How can we spend the less amount of money to make the most amount of money? I think that's what it's going to come down to with these spring games. Because spring games, all right, look, your typical spring game, you have your own game. It's an inter-squad scrimmage. You play, you sell tickets, you try to make some money for this day, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay. With the introduction of actually playing outside competition for your spring game, gives you an opportunity to make a lot of money. It gives you a chance to actually sell tickets in the spring to a competitive football game, somewhat competitive football game. This is a chance to make money. Morehouse and Clark on the same campus, the AUC, shout out to them. Morehouse, Clark, Spelman, literally within walking distance of one another. Why doesn't Morehouse and Clark play for their spring game? I think that's a moneymaker. At the end of the season, every year in football season, on the 11th game, Morehouse and Clark play each other. Regardless of the records, Morehouse won one game last year. Actually, they were 0-9 going into the game. Damn near half the stadium is sold out. Why not try to duplicate this again in the spring? That's like offering Michigan and Ohio State in the spring and in the fall. You got two chances to come check it out. You can check it out when it's snowing. You can check it out when the sun is out. I think that's a moneymaker. So when I equate that to HBC football and look at Clark and Morehouse, that's a no-brainer to me. There are other matchups that are similar to that I think are also no-brainers. You know, maybe FAMU and Bethune-Cookman could be along the same. Jackson State Alcorn could be along the same. Texas Southern, Prairie A&M could be along the same. Because at the end of the day, it's about making some money. That's the reason why they opened things up. They didn't open things up because we tired of doing inter-squad scrimmages. You're going to have 50 more of those. The biggest thing to me when it comes to this spring football scrimmages is who's going to make the most money and who's going to come out of this on top. And I think that Morehouse and Clark definitely have a chance to do that. So while I was speaking on Morehouse and Clark, there are other teams that are now seem to be involved in the NCAA 25 talk, right? The NCAA 25 is about to come out, y'all. It just got announced this past week. It's going to drop. It's going to drop. It's coming. So, and understand that it's going to drop, the biggest question has been, are FCS programs going to be involved in the new NCAA video game? Now, the answer I've gotten is no. They're not going to be in the game. They're not going to be in the game. There's no point. There is no intention to put FCS programs in this game on the initial release. Will it be DLC? Possibly. Will it be on rosters that could be downloaded by the community? Possibly. But will it come on the actual game that we buy in, I guess, like June? No. Okay, so let's move past that, though. NCAA 25 is going to come out. They're going to have the new schools that just won FBS, the Sam Houston States, the James Madison. They are confirmed to be on there. FCS schools and HBCUs are not confirmed to be on there. So the biggest question that I've seen on social media is, why aren't they on there? And to what capacity could they be on there, even if there was a chance? So the best thing I heard was from Isaiah Bowden. He was a former Jackson State defensive back, now defensive back on the Patriots. He was the only HBCU player drafted last year, drafted 7th round. He brought up a very good point in saying there should be a 2021 Jackson State Tiger Classic team that is on NCAA 2025. And I, for one, am 100% behind that. I think that is exactly what should happen. Because when you look at this new NCAA 2025 game, Colorado will feature Coach Prime. I'm pretty sure it will feature Coach Prime. That will be a focal point. Maybe even Coach Prime is on the cover of this NCAA 2025. Okay, fine. But what he did at Jackson State, he put together a classic team. 12-0. You win the SWAC championship. You go to the Celebration Bowl and lose South Carolina State. Sure, that happened. Still one of the most classic teams. Same way 2004 USC is a classic team, right? Carson Palmer, Reggie Bush, Dwayne Jarrett, Steve Smith, Darnell Bing. It means something. So I think that when it comes to classic teams and classic squads, absolutely HBCUs should be involved in this new NCAA 2025 game. There's a Mississippi Valley team that has Jerry Rice on it. Jerry Rice. He literally broke every record imaginable in Division I football. That Mississippi Valley team should be on NCAA 2025. There's a Steve McNair, who is one of the best quarterbacks in college football history. Threw the ball for like 5,000 yards. That Alcorn State team should be in this game. There's going to be other classic teams. I'm sure every NCAA football game that releases has classic squads. It gives you the opportunity to play with older teams that you've never even seen on TV before. So why not put these HBCUs in there? I'm not saying between 2001, 2015, put every HBCU team that was the best team. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we should add Jackson State. I'm saying we should add one of the North Carolina A&T teams that had that had Tariq Cohen on it, Lamar Raynard on it. These are very important squads. These are squads that actually made real noise around the country. Why not put them in there? So I, for one, am going to stand on this hill all alone if I have to, in saying that NCAA football should include HBCU programs in their classic teams list, and we should continue to all push for this, because at the end of the day, people talk about how history can be erased and how things can be changed because certain people tell the story. Well, I don't know any HBCU football programs that have been a part of the NCAA football franchise. That's erasing history. That's taking somebody out of the history of something that has been going on for 150 years. When HBCUs have 100% been a focal point of NCAA football for the better part of 150 years, the whole time. If it's not Coach Eddie Robinson at Grambling, if it's not Gaither down at FAMU, if it's not Coach Prime, if it's not Steve McNair, if it's not Jerry Rice, it's hard to get away from these things. These are facts about college football, and they can't be erased. So I'm here to say that they need to stay. So that's my NCAA 2025 rant. The newer teams doesn't make a bigger deal to me. It doesn't. I think when it comes to adding FCS football teams, NCAA football, you're going to need to add other FCS football teams. Because, all right, if we're being realistic, these FCS football teams can't compete with every Division I FBS team. Notre Dame and North Carolina A&T cannot compete. Shit, Tennessee State just lost to Notre Dame last year, like 60-7. They can't compete. So I'm not the biggest. Well, I would like them to be on team as much as I would like HBCUs to be on the game. I like the classics. But if you're going to put a modern day Alcorn State team on here, and their quarterback is like a 55 overall, the running back is like a 63, and the top two receivers are 70 overalls, I don't want to play with that. I don't know anybody wants to play video games with players that aren't good enough to play on the damn game. So if that's what's gonna happen, like how we've seen happen in the past, I don't want to see it. Past NCAA football games, you'll see, you might notice NCAA 13, right? You'll notice a FCS Southwest or FCS Northeast or FCS Northwest. All those teams are terrible. None of them are good. The best player on the team is about a 62 overall. None of them are good. So if that means that we got to put HBCUs on here, but all of their ratings suffer because of it, because you're comparing them to Marvin Harrison Jr. and Caleb Williams, I don't want to see the teams on here. Because as good as it is for them to still be a part of this history of NCAA football, it could be detrimental if all the teams suck. And the only memory of these HBCU football teams is, oh yeah, we used to play them on week 0 because we beat North Carolina A&T by 100 points. That helps nobody. Nobody. So yeah, I've thought about this for some time now, and I think there's only one way to do it. That's the best way to do it, and would be add classic HBCU teams. I'll send that hill alone. So talked about scrimmages, talked about NCAA 2025 and what that means. Let's get into a little bit of top 5 madness right now. So top 5, as we stream this episode, HBCU Legacy Bowl is going down. All right. Before the Legacy Bowl, there's like a whole week of events, including the HBCU Combine, today's HBCU Combine. So as we record, I just found out that the starting running back from North Carolina Central, Latrell Mookie Collier, just ran a 4.75 40. Not sure if that's the first attempt or the second attempt. I don't know. But I do know this. That's not fast enough to be in the NFL. And that will never be fast enough to be in the NFL. Jarvian Howard just ran a 4.5 40-yard dash. He made the cut. He made the cut. He's going to be playing on the next level. Before the season, I got a chance to talk to my boy Blue, And he said that he heard from scouting circles that he expected Jarvian Howard to be invited to the NFL Combine, the big one, Indianapolis, with Aneem Dankwa. That was expected and talked about by scouts before this season, right? The season didn't exactly go as planned for Jarvian. I think he still ran for 1,000 yards. He's at the HBCU Combine now doing this thing. I just put that out there to say some of the guys that we thought were the guys before the season are still the guys after the season. Guys like Jarvian Howard. Davius Richard, his stock has also gone up. Let me bring this tweet up by my boy Gerald Huggins. We'll have Gerald Huggins on the show this week. Hopefully I get a chance to record him tomorrow. But we'll have G on here. G is actually down there at the HBCU Legacy Bowl right now. He's giving different updates about different guys that he thinks are good or should at least be in the mix or talked about. So here we are. This is the list of players with a ton of interest in the past couple days, right? One of the guys is Davius Richard, quarterback, North Carolina Central. Jarvian Howard, as I just spoke about, from Alcorn, is also on this list. I'll go along and I'll read the rest of the names without the schools. Patrick Gabo, Josh Hayward, Cedric Anderson, Marcus Riley, John Huggins, Jordan Tolles, Ian Willer. All of these guys have gained a ton of interest from NFL scouts in the past couple of days leading up to this combine. They have a ton of guys have spoken to them, gotten their face, gotten the mix. Now let's break it down. Let's break this down a little bit farther. So we have we have 3 defensive backs on this list, 2 running backs on this list, 1 wide receiver, 1 quarterback, a couple of linebackers. The HBCUs in general have been known to put out very good defensive backs. That's what they do. If you saw the Super Bowl this past week between the Chiefs, there was a guy on the defensive back squad that was starting named Joshua Williams. He was a starting defensive back at Fayetteville State, Division II CIAA. He was drafted by Kansas City in round 3, round 3 in 2022. Right? This past year, Isaiah Bowden, the only HBCU player drafted in the NFL, was a defensive back out of Jackson State, drafted by the Patriots in the 7th round. When it comes to defensive backs and defensive players, that is what HBCUs get out into the NFL. I wouldn't be certain to say that many other positions make it, all right? Usually defensive line, guys like Javon Hargrave, guys like Darius Leonard. Defensive line, front 7 usually gets somewhat of a look, but defensive backs will probably get the even bigger look. So let's get into my top 5. It leads me into one of the guys I think that has the most to gain, Omari Hill Robinson, the cornerback out of Bethune-Cookman. He's a cover guy. I think he'll probably be a nickel guy in the NFL or possibly a safety. He doesn't seem big enough to actually play on the outside with a lot of these large receivers, but he has great hands, great instincts. I think he has a lot to gain this week. I think if he can come out, has a very small frame. If he can come out, run a 4.4, something crazy, begin to increase his draft stock, I think he has a chance. I legit think he has a chance. He has great hands. He's a guy that really is a ball hawk when it comes to being a man-to-man corner. He gets his head around. He takes the ball from you. So I think Omari Hill, being a part of a better program probably would have helped him. Bethune-Cookman didn't help him that much. Got to keep it P. It didn't help him that much. A move probably would have helped him even more. But him saying that Bethune-Cookman continue to be consistent says a lot about his character and what he is as a player. So I got Omari Hill Robinson on this list. B.J. Turner, another guy, linebacker out of North Carolina A&T. If you don't know, last year the boy had 21 tackles in a single game. 21. Tackled a grown man 21 times. It didn't lead to a win or anything, but it did lead to some good defense. B.J. Turner has great size at linebacker. For me, I think he's going to be one of the best linebackers at the HBCU Legacy Bowl, and I think he has a chance to improve his stock, but he's going to have to test well, all right? Today is such a big day for all these guys. They have to test well. In order to even get a look or even begin to garner interest, you're going to have to test well because guess what? The NFL Combine is a couple days. It's in a couple of days. They're going to compare those guys 40 times to your 40 times. They're going to compare their bench press to your bench press. They're going to compare those drills to your drills. So if you understand that, you understand you got to show out. A lot of these guys have little to no draft stock at this point. I've gone through all the recruiting boards, talked to my guys. A lot of these guys aren't on anybody's list. Anybody's list. I mean, even Davius Richard, who is probably one of the best prospects for HBCUs this year, has probably the smallest amount of interest of different position groups from HBCUs, right? Because based on the fact that the quarterbacks in this NFL class are so deep. They even have Spencer Rattler right now. I've seen him. Well, he's at around quarterback 12. Usually around 13 quarterbacks get drafted in NFL every year. Usually around 22 wide receivers, 23 wide receivers, give or take. And other position groups, it always varies. But seeing that, right, Spencer Rattler's at almost 13. He's at 12. I haven't seen Davis Richard on any list. Any list. So I'm assuming that he's not top 20. Keaton Slovis is at number 18 right now. If you don't remember, Keaton Slovis was at USC, went to BYU, bounced around a couple different schools. He's at number 18. So the fact that HBCU guys haven't been able to break into these top 20s in multiple positions leads me to believe that they are all low on draft stock. It is what it is. They have to work out of this hole. So Jarvian Howard, a guy that I thought was highly touted coming into this season, underperformed somewhat based on his expectation from his junior year where he ran for like 1,300 yards, almost 20 touchdowns. He still had a very good year. He stayed healthy. Jarvian Howard, to me, is a guy that could make it onto some NFL rosters at the beginning of training camp. I think that he's going to be an absolute stud in this HBCU Legacy Bowl, and he's beginning to show what he has in the HBCU Combine, running a 4.4, 4.5. Fire numbers from a running back, especially of his size. He's a tank. Now, we have a couple more guys. Tariq Stewart. Tariq Stewart, big offensive tackle. I talked about Aneem Dankwall on the last show, 6'9", 320. Tariq Stewart is not as big, but he's still a giant human being at around 6'4", 300-some-odd pounds. He's going to be a guy that will probably end up going in the later days of the draft, maybe day 3 guy, or he'll probably be one of the first guys to get a call as an undrafted free agent. Tariq Stewart got a lot of interest during this past year. He didn't get the invite to the NFL Combine, but he will be at the HBCU Combine, and I'm sure a lot of guys, a lot of scouts are going to want to know what Tariq Stewart is all about. He garnered some of the most support of all HBCU linemen coming into the year and going out of the year. He didn't play particularly bad. The North Carolina A&T offense was bad. May have been a product of their offensive coordinator. May have been a product of the fact that they played 4 different quarterbacks. Who knows? Tariq Stewart played every game, though. Tariq Stewart does a very good job in pass blocking and can also actually is pretty fast. So he can get upfield for run blocking also. So I think he's going to be a guy that you can really use in the league and use at the next level depending on what type of scheme that you run. So HBCU Legacy Bowl, Davis Richard, Omari Hill Robinson, Tariq Stewart, Jarvian Howard, B.J. Turner. Those are my top 5 prospects at this HBCU Legacy Bowl today. I got some sleeper guys. I want to just put a bug in your ear. And let's talk about Jeremy Musa and Nias Dennis, right? Both of these 2 quarterbacks are also here. I think that the HBCU Legacy Bowl has one of the deepest quarterback classes we have seen in the 3 years of its hosting. We got Jeremy Musa back there, Quinn Williams back there, Nias Dennis, Davius Richard. And I believe Donovan Riddick is also there. All of these guys have pro potential. Who do I think can play in actual NFL? I think it would probably be Davius Richard, Nias Dennis. Not sure if Jeremy Musa is there yet. I think Jeremy Musa would actually benefit from a year in the XFL. I think that he needs some polishing on his passing in particular. A lot of his balls float. He can be inaccurate at times on short passes. That's an issue. In NFL, short passes are 100% a gimme. I don't need no iffy, the ball went over his head or the ball went, because in NFL, that's an interception. You can't have that. You want to protect the rock at all times. Davius Richard, on the other hand, has a much stronger arm, in my opinion. Throws the ball like a laser. He's like a tank when it comes to running the ball. His game translates. And Nias Dennis has a very quick release. Gets the ball out very good. He has a good footwork. He's actually very mobile also. He's another guy I think can play at the next level. So this quarterback class that we have come out of HBCUs is probably one of the best quarterback classes we've had in some time. Last year, we were all around Deion Galat, the quarterback out of Bowie State, and he did well. He even played on the Commanders for a couple of weeks. This group of quarterbacks, I expect one of them to land on an NFL roster in the fall, 100%. Whether it be through the practice squad or simply on the active roster. A guy like Davius Richard would be a great backup to Jalen Hurts down at the Philadelphia Eagles. Would be a great backup. He would be a great backup to the Indianapolis Colts, to Anthony Richardson. I think in the ever-changing NFL, every year things change and everybody wants to be like the Super Bowl winner. Things are changing, slowly changing to fit the black quarterback, right? Put out 5 black quarterbacks this year. I'd like to see one of them make a team. So, Mal, time back in with you. We do have one more thing to talk about. We got the Florida Beach Bowl, which is a pretty big bowl game. It's gonna be down in Florida on with our D2 SIC talk, man. Me and the homies on SIC, we have spoken to the actual promoter of the HBCU Florida Beach Bowl Classic, and he actually mentioned some things that were kind of interesting. He said he kind of threw it in there, and it's all speculation. But he kind of mentioned the fact that it might not be 2 Division II programs playing in the Beach Bowl next year. It might be a Division I program versus another Division I program, and it really made me think, wow, a bowl game is literally just the name. There's no requirements for which team's playing it. You know what I mean? The Orange Bowl, say for instance, the Orange Bowl
Yeah.
could host 2 Division II programs if they wanted to. They could just say, this year, these teams make more sense. And usually it doesn't. But it also works both ways. The HBCU Florida Beach Bowl is going to switch to Division I probably. I think FAMU will probably be in the mix for that.
Yeah.
Are there any matchups, just from the outside perspective, that you'd like to see from HBCU level at the Florida Beach Bowl?
I mean, if we just start going best Florida teams, man, I think depending on how people play, I think for sure Florida Memorial should get a shot, NAIA, and but before we even get in that, just talking about the spring bowl games, bro. With the opportunities and matchups that we could have with these spring bowl games, not spring bowl games, these spring games beforehand, I think that could lead on to us seeing some more kind of intra level HBCU games from different programs. So with that in mind, let's go and think about how the Beach Bowl could go. We have what FAMU is a very prestigious program, D1 in Florida. You have Johnson C. Smith. You have
Yeah, that's there in
FMU.
Florida
Who
Memorial.
else? Who else am I missing, Flicks?
Still got Edward Waters down there in Florida also.
Edward Waters, who are D2
OVU is
now.
also there.
So and BCU. So I think if the Beach Bowl wants to do their big thing with the HBCU, I think you might throw in some different teams in there every now and then. Throw in Edward Waters, who was now a D2 program, versus a FMU. Throw in a Johnson C. Smith, depending on the year. Because I know Johnson C. Smith, we talked about earlier with Tuskegee, isn't really a super prestigious program to where like that game against Tuskegee would be, them selling out all the way. But I think with the Florida Beach Bowl, they should tailor the games towards teams they know that can sell out. FMU, I know FMU is in the Miami area. It's not too far from Miami.
Yeah,
And
for me.
depending on you said it's Miami Gardens?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So depending on the year that they're having, why not throw them in with a BCU of where it can be, you can bring, because at the end of the day, I think the bowl games are really for filling out and trying to sell tickets because at the end of the day, season's over. Conference play is over. This game is, for people to come out and watch teams that their teams play. And if we keep it close with 2 big fan bases like that, and FMU, I'm not sure about the fan base being so big, but being in Miami Gardens, I know there are going to be people who have stayed in the area, people who have graduated alumni. So I want to kind of tap into more or less them selling it out. So I think they should do right now. My biggest thing would probably be Florida Miami and FAU. I mean FAMU or Florida Miami and Edward Waters. Those are the kind of the matches I'm looking towards. To keep the enrollment, the Florida enrollment there, and sell out tickets. Because at the end of the day, that's my biggest thing in the bowl games is just put on the show and sell out tickets.
Yeah, facts. So this past season they had their inaugural game, and it was between Fort Valley State, was in Georgia, and then you got Johnson C. Smith, was
Mm-hmm.
actually in North Carolina. So that matchup didn't bring that many fans. Front. There was actually like some type of rainstorm going on, but it looked to
Yeah.
me from the eye test, it looked like it was about 300 people there. Not a good look when you're in a stadium that fits 11,000. Right, so that's kind
And
of
for the
sucks.
and for the first inaugural for the first ever.
Right, exactly, because that's going to be your pitch for next year. You're going to show the pictures of the crowd to everybody next year and say we should bring this back. All right, so that was an issue. So I think the first way to fix that problem probably along the lines of what you're saying, which is inviting a Florida school. But I think take it a step farther. I think not only invite a Florida school, I think you tell Florida A&M that they have a seat at this table whenever they want it. This could be the Florida A&M end of the year inaugural bowl. I don't care what y'all call it. It's a Florida Beach Bowl. I can call it the FAMU Bowl. It doesn't matter to me if I'm the promoter because I simply want to put asses in seats. So if I
Yeah.
got FAMU as my host school for this event, right? It's the same way Tuskegee is the host school for the Red Tails Classic, right? They lost Fort Valley,
Mhm.
had to add Johnson C. Smith. If I use Florida A&M as my host school and I'm able to use this game and leverage it to bring in other schools, because at the end of the year, they choose the schools, simply choose them. They call them up, choose them 2 weeks beforehand, tell them to pull up. I can choose whoever I want to play against FAMU because at the end of the day, we saw it 2 years ago. FAMU doesn't make the SWAC championship. They still call themselves the HBCU champions. That's a fan
Mhm.
thing. Let's prove it by playing the Florida Beach Bowl. Y'all the champions? We're going to have the champions of the HBCU football play against, let's say, Samford. Let's say Kennesaw
FA.
State.
Oh
FAU.
yeah, that's solid.
You almost can throw in different schools into this this potion that you're making right now. I think before the Beach Bowl, they go from D2 to D1. All right, now you're just doing all type of stuff. That's fine, but let's find the sweet spot in this. And maybe the sweet spot is saying, okay, we got FAMU as our number one guys, and we're going to introduce a new team every year to play FAMU, no matter how well they do. So I think that with the Florida Beach Bowl, it seems to be tweaking this philosophy a little bit from just going, hey, this is our HBCU bowl game. This is going to be the first bowl game of bowl season. We'll do it with I think that now it's beginning to change more and go, okay, the first year was fun. Inaugural was fun. We didn't make much money. We paid the schools a lot of money. How do we make this an actual fun event that can rival the Celebration Bowl? Because the 400 people does not rival the Celebrations
Yeah.
Bowl 45,000 people. It is not even
Yeah.
close. It's almost like people didn't even know what was going on. And a lot of the initial issues that people had with the Florida Beach Bowl kind of ended up coming up. The Florida Beach Bowl was played on a Wednesday. Not only a Wednesday, the Wednesday before the Celebration Bowl. Not only the Wednesday before the Celebration Bowl, it's in Florida on a Wednesday when the Celebration Bowl is in Atlanta on a Saturday. The same week. That doesn't work for HBCU football fans or HBCU fans in general because people aren't making
Ain't ain't gonna
different
travel back and
decisions.
forth.
It's one or the
Yeah.
other, right? So then
Yeah.
add another whammy into it. The HBCU Band of the Year competition is also in Atlanta a day before the Celebration Bowl. So guess what? I'm not going to Florida anymore. So
Yeah.
I think that there has to be a certain level of planning this year if you want to make this a successful event. But also just understanding that this bowl game is very, very fluid. So before we got out of here, Malk, I just want to talk about, we did kind of mention a little bit, Tuskegee, Johnson C. Smith, and the Red Tails Classic. It's going to be changing, and Tuskegee's schedule, for the most part, looks a little bit different. Can I pull it up here? Well, no, I might as well pull it up. Well, actually, no, let's not pull it. Let's do it. We'll go through the
Wednesday?
entire schedule on Wednesday. We'll do it on Wednesday. But some of the games that are on Tuskegee's schedule now, they have 3 non-conference games. One game is against Johnson C. Smith in the Red Tails Classic. Another game is going to be against Grambling State. It's going to be interesting. At Grambling in the hole. This is the first time Tuskegee and Grambling have played in about 50 years, something like that. It's craziness. And then you got the Turkey Day Classic for Tuskegee at the end of the year against Alabama State. So on Wednesday, we'll go through the complete schedule breakdown. But I'll tell y'all right now, this is a terrible schedule. These are terrible decisions by Tuskegee. Terrible. We saw them last year play against 2 Division II opponents and lose to them. Let's do the quick math in my head. By about a combined 107 to 13.
Only
Alabama
2
State.
scores in them games.
That's Alabama State and Alabama A&M. That ain't even that's not UAB or something crazy. That's not Florida Atlantic. No. FCS programs absolutely put hands on these guys. Instead of saying let's dial it back and figure out our program, no.
Let's go full sprint.
Let's run it back. How much money y'all got for me? And Tuskegee asking about money is crazy, knowing that y'all are racked out as one of the top 5 HBCU endowments in America. Y'all don't need no more money. Y'all do not need the little 400,000, 550,000 you're going to get from Turkey Day Classic. You don't need it from Alabama State. You could go get that somewhere else. Hey, look, figure it out. Schedule somebody else. Same thing with Grambling. They choose to make this move. I think Tuskegee is in no way, no shape or form ready to play against Grambling State today. So, I think they'll probably end up getting what's coming to them. It is what it is. But let's get into some factor cap, Malk. What you got for us?
Hey man, for that, bro, I'm gonna say it's Tuskegee. That's the greed they talk about in the Bible, homie. And these
Greed.
kids, and these
Greed.
and these kids go have to suffer through them games
Yo,
because y'all want
literally
to make
though.
400
Literally, I don't even mean to act too happy
400,000.
about them, but hey, injuries happen a lot in these D1 games. You playing a Division 1 game at the end of your 12 game schedule. That's crazy. Come
It's
on, dog.
crazy.
Come on.
And
If they weren't hurt
and
before,
don't
they hurt now.
don't let morale be low. Oh yeah. Say
Portal. I'm in the
say
portal.
say I rolled my ankle 2 weeks before that game. Oh yeah, coach.
I'm in the
Trainer
portal
said
early.
nah.
I'm in the portal before the game. Keep it P, homie. I'm gonna go to Thanksgiving with my fam and be in the portal happy, talk to other coaches and stuff, eating my turkey dinner while I watch y'all lose 66-0 on national TV.
Cowboys gonna lose that game. I'm gonna send that text, coach. I'm out of there. Coach, thank you for the past year, but I'm out of there.
I'm out.
All right, it's time for Factor Cap, man. We're trying to make this probably my favorite segment. We're trying to make it Flicks our favorite segment of the end, so end this show, man, because we've been having some good topics. I think last week we got some good topics, but this week, man, Mississippi Valley, man, Factor Cap. Will they get dropped down to Division 2? Now, my answer right now, I'll talk to my lawyers about this. I call cap because of how it's moving right now in Mississippi, all the sports they're in. I don't see them moving down to the SIAC anytime soon right now. But that's not going to mean that I don't want them to. I want them to move out the SWAC. We need to get them out of there. We talked last week about Morehouse potentially joining the SWAC, and with the school they have, with the facilities they have, they should join the SWAC. But I think personally, it's time. It's time to go. It's time to go, bro. We looked at the schedule last year: 5-26. Year before that, 2-27. It's only basketball. It's not even football. This year, 0-26 in basketball. It's time to pack it up, homie. It's time to find your level. Flick said it off camera. You are punching above your weight class, year in, year out, and not just basketball and football. Every sport. Volleyball getting swept, 3-0 sets. Soccer. I ain't even do it out of soccer. I've seen volleyball. I ain't gonna do it out of soccer. But volleyball, bro, it's just not looking good. We got multiple sports that are supposed to recruit and bring in these athletes and bring an enrollment to these schools, and they all terrible. It just can't happen no more, man. I think it's time to go.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel you on that, and even you saying SIC might be the move. Really, the more I look at it, SIC should not add them. Like, if I was SIC, I probably wouldn't want them a part of my conference. I have programs that have more money athletically, are better and more competitive in sports. So why would I actually dumb down my conference for you? So I probably wouldn't add them. I don't think they belong in the SWAC. I mean, I really don't. How much money does this Mississippi Valley squad add to the SWAC? And I would be inclined to think that's not that much. I don't think that they really make a difference in negotiating any of these media deals. I don't think that they actually play a factor at the end of the year. I think simply at this point, they are revenue retrieving from the SWAC conference. I don't think they're making money from these home games they have. I don't think they make the money from the away games they have. That the women's basketball squad start the season off 0-15 because they played 15 straight road games that included West
Yes.
Coast teams, Southern teams. They went up to Ohio for a little bit. They do whatever. And I get it's supposed to be for the money, but how I almost feel like they're coming out even because they're not getting an actual return on their investment for any of these games. I have not seen a Mississippi Valley sports actually excel in the past 3 years, which is an issue to me. So maybe Mississippi Valley actually finds a home in the NAIA. Maybe that is better for them because at the end of the day, this program is really in need of a serious, serious rebuild and is also in need of a serious influx in revenue and cash. Somehow, maybe winning leads to that. Maybe winning an NAIA championship leads to that somehow, but I can't see it in NCAA.
Flicks, and you mentioned a good point, bro. Speaking about NAI, as you mentioned that first thing I looked up, team that's very good, Louisiana State University Shreveport. They are in the Red River Conference, and Louisiana Shreveport they do their thing, man. But we're just honestly thinking, let's just draw it back. Let's Mississippi Valley move it NAI. Would this be a bad idea? So within this conference, we have Xavier, Louisiana, LSU, Alexandria. We have Texas College, who's also HBCU, and I want to say I'm missing another team, but these teams are in there. Maybe they go in there and steamroll and bulldoze everybody because of the athletes they have, the talent they have. But I think that might be necessary for the Delta Devils. Maybe they do go down there in football and try to wreck and crew and be the big fish in the pond. Because right now you're the smallest fish in the ocean right now, the swag, and it can't keep happening year after year. It's just loss after loss after loss after loss. This is also a joke with me and Flicks have. Delta Devils used to be my favorite program football wise when Jelani Easton was there. When Jelani took care of some business and won some games for Delta Devils in his time in Mississippi Valley. So just think about that, bro. That was a year or two ago, and we think now, you scheduling D2s and losing the D2s in your state. That's just like the respect level for Mississippi Valley goes from, oh man, I got a D1 offer from Mississippi Valley to, oh, I got an offer from Valley State. Yeah, I might go there if it's my last option. You got so just the recruiting tool, man. Maybe you do lose the talent that you have in recruits wise of we're not D1 anymore, but you can mold out that in the Red River Conference. If you keep some of the guys you have there, you keep some of the talent you got there, potentially you can go win that conference, and you're not gonna move back up to Division 1 or 2 anytime soon. But it's a rebuild time right now. Like this should be the idea for Mississippi Valley State. We're rebuilding. So
Don't do it, man. Don't do it for
it
10,
was
15 years and then come back to us, man.
who knows, bro. And so we mentioned my it was Cap. I think both our answers were Cap because it's not gonna happen right now. But we definitely think they should go.
Right. It's on the cusp.
So we talked about the MEAC earlier, man. We mentioned the MEAC roundup, and I told Flix I'm gonna wait, for my MEAC winner. So my factor cap is Howard. My last one. Will Howard shock everybody and win the MEAC? Go steal it right under the feet of Norfolk State, and what's it called, and NC Central. And I don't know, man. Right now, I'm a call cap. Not to say that Howard can't do it, but me personally, I have a gut feeling I don't think Howard can pull it out. But with the team that they have, Seth Towns, the oldest, potentially might be the oldest man in college basketball. But he hooping, man. 15 and 6.5 rebounds is great coming off. But you have Shy Odom, who's coming in after him. Previously went to Sierra Canyon before picking Howard over all these D1 schools. So Shy Odom is a
We need
great
that
backup.
interview, Shy.
It's a great backup pick. Hey man, homie, he from Boston, homie. So I'm gonna put that there. He came. Yeah, he made a commitment video from Boston to I'm gonna commit to Sierra Canyon. But that's neither here nor there. That's crazy. Yeah. He a fake. He a transplant. But back to Howard. Bryce Harris, who's also averaging 16.4 points a game, off damn near 60% from the field. That's pretty efficient. And with cameos from Marcus Dockery playing well throughout the time, who knows what Howard could do? Maybe they could do it, but my gut feeling right now is, man, Norfolk. Well, I see him every week on my, social media isn't really the most important thing, but dog, when you doing something right, they're gonna see you. Norfolk, they got ankle breakers every week,
Right.
wins. The media push for them is really big, and you're not pushing nobody if you're losing. So with Norfolk and what they're going on, this run that they're going on, man, they usually take care of business in the MEAC. I mean, so I got Norfolk winning the MEAC. I'm gonna call it cap on Howard shocking everybody and taking it from under the feet of Central and MEAC. I mean Central and Norfolk.
Hey, well, let me tell you this. I was a big fan of Norfolk, and I have been the past couple years. Their men's and women's programs are both elite when it comes to HBC basketball. And I was a big fan of ISO Joe last year. Got to have he's overseas now. I like Norfolk a lot, but I will say I think it's a fact. I think the boy Seth Towns is gonna win MEAC Player of the Year at this point, dude. The kid is making game winners. I want to say he's one of the top 10 scorers in the MEAC at this point. So to me, this Seth, I was joking on Seth before the season. I'm like, bro, this kid has been everywhere in 7 years. He's been to Oregon, to the Rutgers, to wherever else. He's been coast to coast. I think somehow all of those things help the boy. Because now he's down at Howard doing his thing. He's playing freely. He's staying healthy. He doesn't look like the oldest guy on the court. He feels like something that the MEAC has been brewing, right? A lot of these MEAC schools, you see even the top players, they're upperclassmen. Even in SWAC, they're upperclassmen. The top guys are usually always upperclassmen. So for this guy to come in as upperclassman and seamlessly fit in a Howard offense that was already pretty good is a good sign to me. And I think maybe Howard goes ahead and pulls it off, so I'm going to call fact on that. But I think one thing is for certain. I think Seth will win Player of the Year this year.
That's good to see, man. And personally, with Howard, they had the big shock move when they grabbed Thon Maker's cousin. He chose Howard over Kentucky and UCLA, and that year lost some D2s. They didn't have a good year for Howard to get in this portal and grab a guy like Seth Towns and turn it around over these past 2 to 3 years. It's good to see, man. Howard the Bison are a great program. A very, very historic, great school altogether. But historically, this is a big name school, bro. When that HBCU wave happened, people first place they want to send their kid was Howard. Like Howard started offering a lot of people in the pandemic when kids were thinking about going HBCU, and the first picks were Howard, Norfolk State, all these schools. So Howard's a big name program. Will probably still remain a big name program, but it's good to see. And that's your pick, man. We're gonna revisit these picks, bro. I'm gonna write it down right now in my notes.
Okay.
Flicks had them winning the MEAC, and I said no.
And we'll look this week. I mean, on Wednesday we'll put it down. We'll watch some Howard basketball this Wednesday too, because I do want to get more into a little bit of some MEAC basketball, MEAC hoops. There was some crazy hoops on the women's side, but even the men's side, it's kind of like got to catch up now. We're getting really close to tournament time, so got to get right. Got to get up to date with everybody who's playing, who's not playing. So we'll definitely watch the highlights on Wednesday. All right, but that was Factor Cap.
Yes, sir, man.
All right, this is a great episode, man. This is your boy Kelly Flicks. I'm my boy Malk.
Smoke in the building, bro.
Another episode of HBCU Flicks, man. Appreciate all y'all for tapping in with us this week. Stay tuned. So Wednesday, as always, we'll be doing the late show. Go for a couple hours like we did last week. They tried to cut us off early last week, all right?
Try to get us up out of there, bro.
And let us back on. We already ended the stream. But look, if they cut us off this week, we just going to wait it out. We're just going to take a smoke break. We're going to come right back to you with a couple Modelos. And we're going to go back to some more reacting. We missed out on 7 highlight tapes and 2 interviews last week. So we're going to add that to this pack. It's going to be a jam-packed Wednesday show. Don't forget to tune into that. All right. Also, I'm hanging out in the AUC with my boy Damien again this week. We're going and doing it. We were supposed to do it last week. It was on me. So we're going to do it this week. Back in the AUC, we're going to talk Clark football, everything Clark Atlanta we're going to talk about, guys. And then also this week, we're going to have Gerald Huggins on the show. We're going to talk about the HBCU legacy. Oh, it's going to be big. My boy G is down there right now. He has a lot to say about it. We're going to meet up, try to meet up every week leading up to the draft. We're going to talk prospects, talk about who's hot and who's not. So, appreciate everybody for tapping in with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video. We are out.